Today I'm going to give away a free t-shirt, ask and answer a question, and reveal the book's up off this week. How y'all doing? I'm Victor, and you are watching a Comic Hero Show. Now kick that intro.
One, two, three, four.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Comic Hero Show. I'm your host, Victor Nunley, and I am the Comic Hero. This is the second of 3 Christmas episodes. Now I'm going to tell y'all a Christmas story a little later on, but for right now, it's time to give away a free t-shirt. Alright, on last week's episode I asked, the DC Comics graphic novel Batman Noel is a retelling of which classic Christmas story? Well, the correct answer is A Christmas Carol. And 6 people have answered correctly, and because they've answered correctly, your name's been entered in a drawing for a free tee. And that drawing takes place right now. So the winner of the free tee for this week's episode of the show is... Morgan Burchett from Johnson City, Tennessee. So congratulations, Morgan. And you've got a free Comic Hero tee. Alright, here's the question for next week's episode. And this is also a Christmas question, and it's a Spider-Man and a Fantastic Four question. Which member of the Fantastic Four does Spider-Man go on patrol with throughout all 5 boroughs of New York on Christmas Day? Is it A, the Invisible Woman, B, the Thing, or C, the Human Torch? Alright, here's some hints to help. The first hint is that on the big screen, this character has been played by Chris Evans, Michael B. Jordan, and Joseph Quinn. And then the second hint, this character shares a code name with the founding member of the Invaders, whose real name is Jim Hammond. And then the third hint, this character's catchphrase is also the way that he controls his powers by saying, "Flame on." Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in a drawing for a free tee on next week's episode of the show. So, I gotta ask, any questions?
Questions I walk around in, questions I didn't thrive in, questions I will survive in, questions.
This question comes from Alex Heckler from Monroe, Louisiana. He asks, can you describe the portrayal of black superheroes from the blaxploitation era of the 1970s like Luke Cage and Black Lightning, and how it's changed to the Afrofuturist themes we see today with the Ta-Nehisi Coates run of Black Panther? Well, Alex, first off, that has to be the deepest question that I've ever been asked here on the show. I mean, ever since I started doing this segment back in 2014. Now, as the old proverb goes, ask deep question, expect deep answer. Okay, I just made that up. I just made that up. But one of the things that differs from that time to now was that a lot of the black superheroes that were created anywhere from 1966 to 1993, starting with Black Panther, and then all the way from there to Steel in 1993 when he was created for the Reign of the Superman story arc. They were all created by white writers and artists. Now look, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's a great thing. That's a very bold thing to do. And it took a lot of courage to do that considering the times that they created him, especially when Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created Black Panther in '66, and then when Stan Lee and Gene Colan created Sam Wilson in 1969. I can only imagine some of the death threats they might have gotten as a result of this. But they did a lot of great stories with these black superheroes. Only problem is that they lacked a black experience. They lacked a black experience, and a a lot of black readers had bittersweet reactions as a result. I mean, they were excited because they're being because we're being represented, but they were also hacked off because of some of the stereotypical overtones. Because let me tell you something, not every black person has had the same black experience. And a lot of these writers and artists, God bless them, but they went but what they only knew. And this was something that upset some black writers and artists anywhere from the late 80s to the early 90s. And then four men ended up leaving DC and Marvel in 1993, and they founded their own company, and that's the comics division of Milestone Media. They did so with the help of a film producer, film writer, and media mogul Reginald Hudlin. And during those 4 years, we saw black superheroes and other superheroes of other ethnicities being created by writers and artists of those respective ethnicities, and were represented and depicted in the proper fashion. Now, Milestone Media only lasted 4 years. It folded in 1997, but it had a failsafe. When it was formed in 1993, they signed a distribution deal with DC, meaning that when it folded in 1997, DC had the rights to all the characters. And the most popular character for Milestone Media was Static. So much so that even after the comics division of Milestone Media folded, rather, he had his own animated series, and it lasted several years, called Static Shock. And over time, Milestone Comics is now a division of DC. And we have seen miniseries and other projects from them, and I can only imagine what's to come. Although, honestly, I would love to see monthly books. But the impact, even though it only lasted 4 years, that it made was so imminent that it lit a fire under both DC and Marvel. And they soon understood that if you're going to have a comic book that features a black superhero or any superhero of any other color, you better do so with a person with at least a writer that has lived a life. And it all got started in 1998 with the Black Panther series that was first written by Christopher Priest. And then, ever since then, there have been other Black Panther series that have been written by Reginald Hudlin, Brian Edward Hill, John Ridley, and of course, the 5-year run that Ta-Nehisi Coates had on it. And then there were other books, like there was a Cyborg miniseries. There was a monthly series that was brilliantly written by John Semper Jr. Only lasted 21 issues. I wish it would have lasted a lot longer. In fact, I wish it was still in print now, because he did a great job. One thing about John Semper Jr., not to toot his horn or anything, but he has done absolutely no wrong on practically anything he's ever done. From writing episodes of Scooby-Doo to the Jetsons to being the showrunner of the Spider-Man animated series in the 90s. I mean, he has really done a lot. And then there was a character by the name of the Superman of China, who was co-created by Gene Yang, who is now now he is now a member of the Superman family and appears in issues of both Superman and Action Comics. I mean, my thing is that I think this is a great thing, and it's only right, because if you only know the gist of a superhero of color, then you're not doing it right. But Alex, I hope that answers your question, and I'm really enjoying these questions y'all have been asking me. And keep them up. Now remember, they can have anything to do with comics or anything within the realm, or me in terms of both the hobby or the show, but please, no personal or tasteless questions. I will neither ask nor answer them here on the show. All right, let's get to the comics I bought this week. Comic books I bought this week. All right, here we go. First up is Absolute Batman number 15. Action Comics number 1093. The Amazing Spider-Man number 17. Batman and Robin number 28. Aquaman number 12. DCKO Wonder Woman vs. Lobo. Green Lantern Corps number 11. Iron and Frost number 3. Long Shots number 3. The New Avengers number 7. Sinister 6 number 3. Supergirl number 8. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 13. Ultimate Black Panther number 23. Ultimate Spider-Man number 23. Ultimate Wolverine number 12. And finally, Unbreakable X-Men number 3. All right, that's 17, which brings the total number of comics that I bought since December of 1997 to 14,241. All right, well, I hope y'all enjoyed this week's episode. And here's a question again for a free tee for next week's episode of the show. Which member of the Fantastic Four does Spider-Man go on patrol with throughout all 5 boroughs of New York on Christmas Day? Is it A, the Invisible Woman, B, the Thing, or C, the Human Torch? All right, here's some hints to help. The first hint is that this character has been played on the big screen by Chris Evans, Michael B. Jordan, and Joseph Quinn. The second hint, this character shares a code name with Jim Hammond, who is a founding member of the Invaders. And then the third and final hint, this character can activate their powers by saying, "Flame on!" Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in a drawing for a free tee on next week's episode of the show. And congratulations to Morgan Burchett from Johnson City, Tennessee, who won a free tee on this episode. All right, one Christmas story I want to share with y'all. It's it's kind of a bittersweet Christmas story. This happened 27 years ago. It was the first Christmas that my family celebrated without my dad. My dad passed away on May 29th of 1998, and it just didn't seem real, for him not to be here on Christmas, because my dad was a great man, probably one of the greatest men I've ever known. And my cousin from Georgia originally he's from Minden. He had called my mom and asked, "Hey, you want us to come down there and celebrate with y'all?" And she said, "Yeah, y'all come on." And they stayed over at my mom's house for several days. And for those of y'all that know me well enough, I love my family. That had to have been one of the most feel-good memories I've ever had. And I know my family's watching this, and I love y'all. I know my cousins are too. I love y'all. This is that really spoke volumes. All right, this is a green Christmas comic hero tee. And if you like one, you can find them on IamTheComicHero.com/shop for $20. All right, here's the road ahead for the show. On next week's episode, I'm doing the third and final Christmas episode. On episode 547, it's the last episode of 2025, and episode 548 is the first episode of 2026. And, yeah. And if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, welcome. And as soon as you're done, hit subscribe. If you're watching this on the Comic Book Lovers Facebook page, welcome. And as soon as you're done, hit subscribe. And if you're watching this on the Louisiana Delta Content Careers Facebook page, welcome. And as soon as you're done, go on YouTube and hit subscribe. Oh, and share also. Please, sir, please, ma'am. All right, I'm Victor Noli on the Comic Hero. I'll see you next week for episode 546. So until then, be safe, be blessed, be a hero, and Merry Christmas.